Hey everyone, ready to jump into something new? Today, we're going to take a deep dive into Basejump.
Basejump.
Yeah, brand new Web3 social gaming platform.
Okay. And
They're making some pretty big claims about the future of gaming.
the future of gaming. Bold claims, huh? I've heard a little bit about this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's caught my attention is how they're not just like, oh, another platform.
Yeah.
They want to be a social hub. Players can connect, explore games, trade stuff.
Like a whole ecosystem.
Yeah. And get this, even build their own games from scratch.
Oh, ambitious. So for anyone out there who maybe isn't super familiar with Web3 gaming, what makes Basejump different from, the usual platforms?
Okay, one of the big things is something they're calling action, an AI-powered substrate.
AI-powered substrate, okay.
Think of it, I guess, kind of like a really, really smart game creation tool
Okay.
that lets you build games, design items, all without needing to know how to code.
So no coding knowledge needed.
None. Zip.
So it's almost like having a team of virtual game developers, just like at your fingertips.
Right. It's pretty revolutionary, especially if you think about all those aspiring game creators out there
Yeah,
who might not have the technical skills to actually code from scratch.
absolutely. Lowering the barrier to entry, huge.
Right.
Potentially leads to way more creativity,
Exactly.
more innovation in the whole gaming world.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the creation side. But what about the actual games themselves?
Right.
The items. How does Basejump make sure players actually own what they create or what they get within the games?
Okay, this is where AO and Arweave come in.
Right, bring on the acronyms.
All right, so AO is a decentralized supercomputer.
Decentralized.
Yeah, it uses Arweave's permanent storage to make sure everything created on Basejump, whether it's a game, a virtual item, an entire world even, it's all stored securely on the blockchain
On the blockchain. Okay.
and can't be deleted or taken away.
So for our listeners who, might not be total blockchain experts, can you break that down a little simpler terms?
Sure. Imagine a giant digital ledger that everyone can see and verify. That's basically what a blockchain is.
Okay.
So when you store something on it, it means no single entity controls it, can't be tampered with, can't be erased.
Like a permanent record.
Exactly, of all your digital creations.
Possessions.
And possessions.
So with Basejump, I can rest assured as a player
Yeah.
that I own my in-game stuff, my creations, because there's this permanent record
Right.
on the blockchain, thanks to AO and Arweave.
Precisely. And this opens up so many possibilities when it comes to trading, selling, even using those assets across different games.
Whoa, wait. Across different games?
Yeah. Imagine taking your favorite sword, right, from one game and being able to use it in another. Never been possible before.
Okay, starting to see why there's so much buzz around this.
Right.
The idea of true digital ownership, interoperability.
It's game-changing. Pun intended.
Yeah, okay. Pun intended. And Basejump's leadership seems pretty vocal about this whole vision.
Oh, yeah.
I read somewhere that their CEO, Matt Mason, called Basejump a discovery surface for the 3.2 billion people who use avatars across games,
Right.
digital worlds.
Right.
So is he hinting at a future where our digital identities can just move freely between all these online experiences?
I think so.
Speaking of avatars, it sounds like Basejump's really emphasizing interoperable avatars. Ones you can use across different games.
Yeah, like a universal you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Are there any other companies doing this, similar things?
There are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's Ready Player Me, for example.
Yeah.
They're already creating these interoperable avatars, so it does seem like we're moving towards a future where our digital selves can actually travel with us.
It's like having one single, digital representation of yourself.
Right.
And you can just use it wherever, whatever game.
Yeah.
Virtual world. Pretty mind-blowing.
It is. And it ties into this whole metaverse concept, right?
Yeah.
This persistent world, interconnected,
Mhm.
where we can work, play, socialize, own things.
It's a lot to unpack. Okay, so we've covered a ton already, but I'm curious about Basejump's origins. Where did this whole ambitious project even come from?
They actually started as a company called Dazzleship.
Dazzleship?
Yeah, they released a collection of NFTs about 18 months ago.
2 NFTs, okay.
These NFTs were kind of like early metaverse spaces.
Yeah.
People could own and customize them. And the community that formed around those spaces, it kind of inspired Dazzleship to evolve into Basejump.
So from NFTs to a whole gaming platform.
Exactly. They saw the potential to bring this vision of, interoperable avatars, user-generated content to life. And they've got some serious backing, too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they've secured strategic investment from Community Labs,
Okay.
which is an organization that supports projects built on the Arweave ecosystem.
Arweave. So they're well-positioned, you'd say.
I'd say so, for success in this whole Web3 gaming world.
So they've got the backing, they've got the tech, they've got a passionate community. When can we expect to, see Basejump in action?
Well, they're in alpha testing right now, aiming for a launch in early 2025.
Early 2025. Okay, not too far off. But before we, get too ahead of ourselves, let's bring it back to the present.
Right.
We talked a lot about action. It's AI capabilities. Can you give, a more concrete example of how it actually works? If I wanted to create a, let's say, simple game, how would I use action to do that?
Okay, so imagine you want to make a racing game, simple racing game. You describe your vision to action, right? You might say, I want a racing game with futuristic cars on a neon track.
Yeah, right, pretty straightforward.
And then Action's AI would take that description and start generating the code, the assets, designing the cars, building the track, even implementing the basic game mechanics.
You see, you don't need to know, specific coding languages.
Nope.
You just need to be able to, articulate your vision.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Exactly. It's like that whole chat GPT for games analogy, remember?
Right. Just tell it what you want, and it makes it happen.
Pretty much.
That's incredible. And to think, this is all powered by AO, running on the blockchain, accessible to anyone. It really feels like we're, on the edge of something new in gaming.
It's definitely a paradigm shift. But like any disruptive tech, there are questions, challenges that need to be, addressed.
Right, and that's something we're going to explore more in the next part of our deep dive.
Exactly.
We'll take a closer look at the potential impact of Basejump, the good, the bad, what it means for the future of gaming, and the whole metaverse concept.
Lots to discuss.
Yeah, so stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into the world of Basejump.
Stepping into a new world, aren't we?
It really does feel like it. And with all this talk about, true digital ownership and this, revolutionary technology, I'm kind of wondering, how's Basejump going to actually sustain itself, financially, I mean, in this big, bold new world they're building?
Right, good question. Business model, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they haven't, revealed all the specifics.
Right.
But we can kind of piece some things together. Remember how Basejump started out with that NFT project?
Yeah, dazzle ship.
Exactly. So NFTs will probably play a pretty big role in their economy.
Okay.
Think about unique in-game items, virtual land, maybe even special skins for those interoperable avatars we talked about.
Okay, so instead of just, buying a game outright, players could, buy, sell, trade all these NFT-based assets.
Create a whole marketplace within Basejump.
Within their own ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because these assets would be on the blockchain, they would actually have real value.
Right.
You could potentially even trade them outside of Basejump.
So it's kind of like owning a piece of digital real estate.
Exactly. That you could, maybe even profit from.
Pretty cool. But we were talking earlier, with any new tech, there are challenges.
Always.
What are some of the hurdles that Basejump might run into as they grow,
Well, one of the biggest ones for any platform that relies on user-generated content is moderation.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right. Because if anyone can create a game with action, how do they make sure it's a safe environment for everyone?
Right. Inclusive.
We've seen what happens on other platforms when you have harmful content, inappropriate stuff, that's a hurdle Basejump's going to have to figure out.
Yeah. It's a tough balance.
It is.
Between letting creativity flourish, but also keeping everyone safe. Do we know anything about their approach to moderation yet?
They haven't spelled it out,
Yeah.
but they'll probably use a mix of, community-based moderation and some automated systems.
Okay.
To keep an eye on things, filter content.
So things like community guidelines.
Reporting mechanisms, maybe even AI algorithms.
Yeah.
To flag stuff.
Yeah, makes sense. And then there's the question of scale,
Oh, absolutely.
Can Basejump's infrastructure handle a ton of users? All the data these persistent worlds are going to generate.
That's where AO comes in. That decentralized supercomputer, they can tap into distributed computing power and potentially scale up pretty seamlessly as their user base grows.
Okay.
But even then, managing all the technical stuff, making sure the experience is smooth for everyone, even as things get bigger, That's a challenge.
It's a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
But if they can do it,
Yeah.
the possibilities are like really huge.
Yeah.
It could change not just how we play games, but how we connect online, period.
Totally. Remember that quote from Matt Mason about those walls between games crumbling?
Yeah.
That interoperability idea, it goes beyond just games. What about connecting gaming to other online experiences?
Okay, like what? Give me an example.
Imagine you're at a virtual concert in Basejump,
Okay.
and then you get like a limited edition merch item delivered to your door.
Oh, that's cool.
Or you use your Basejump avatar to, interact with AR experiences in the real world. It's all about bridging those gaps.
Between digital and physical.
Right, making things more integrated, more immersive.
Okay, now that is next level. My mind's blown. But, we were talking about challenges earlier.
Right.
What about the potential downsides
Yeah.
of a world that's so connected?
Yeah. Well, privacy, data security, those become even bigger deals when our digital identities are linked everywhere.
Right.
And then there's the whole question of monopolies.
Oh, yeah.
Could a company like Basejump end up controlling access to this massive interconnected metaverse?
It's like any big tech leap. There's always that potential for, misuse, unintended consequences. But I'm sensing you're pretty optimistic about Basejump.
I am. Yeah. I think the decentralized nature of Web3 tech and the open source principles behind Basejump and AO, it seems like they're really focused on community ownership, governance.
So it's more about a group effort,
Mm-hmm.
creators, players shaping this metaverse together, rather than one big company calling all the shots.
Exactly. It's about empowering individuals, creativity, building a digital landscape that's more equitable, transparent.
I like that.
And yeah, there will be bumps in the road.
Always are.
But the journey itself is pretty exciting.
I'm with you on that. And with Basejump launching in early 2025, we won't have to wait too long to see how it all unfolds. Now, before we wrap up this part of the deep dive, I want to ask you, out of everything we've talked about today, what excites you the most about Basejump? What really gets you fired up? Welcome back, everyone, for the final part of our Basejump deep dive. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it? Exploring this whole new world they're building.
It has a lot to process. For anyone just joining us, we've been talking about Basejump, this ambitious new platform shaking up the gaming world.
Totally. And we've covered a ton of ground, so let's try to distill it all down. What are the big takeaways from our Basejump deep dive?
The biggest one, I think, is that it's not just another platform. It represents a fundamental shift.
To shift in what?
How we think about gaming, you know? Moving away from these closed ecosystems, the ones we're used to, towards something more open, decentralized, player-driven.
So it's less about just playing games and more about actually shaping them, owning what you create, building these digital worlds together.
Exactly. It's about empowering players to become creators,
Yeah.
giving them real ownership. And it's all powered by this trifecta of technology: AI, blockchain, decentralized computing.
Right. We talked about Action, that AI tool that lets anyone design games.
Mm.
Then there's AO, running on Arweave, making sure everything's permanent, secure, and of course those interoperable avatars, opening the door to a truly interconnected metaverse.
A lot of moving pieces, yeah. But the picture it paints is pretty amazing. A future where the lines between player and creator, they start to blur. Digital assets have real value, and communities come together to build these persistent online worlds.
And it feels like it ties into a bigger trend, right? This whole idea of decentralization, user empowerment.
Absolutely. Pushing back against those big centralized platforms, putting power back in the hands of individuals.
That's happening everywhere online. And if Basejump can actually pull this off, they could be a model for other industries too.
Yeah.
To embrace this more open approach.
I think so. To content creation, community building. It's an exciting shift, but we have to acknowledge the potential downsides too, right? We talked about moderation, data security, the risk of monopolies.
We did.
Yeah.
Every disruptive tech comes with challenges. But you seem to think those challenges can be addressed.
I do. Basejump and AO being open source, that focus on community ownership, governance, those are good signs that this tech can benefit everyone, not just a select few.
So the future of Basejump, this whole decentralized gaming metaverse, it really hinges on a collective effort.
Yeah.
The community, developers, investors, all working together to navigate these uncharted waters. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with this question. What role do you see yourself playing in this emerging world? Basejump's launching in early 2025. Will you be a player, a creator, both? The choice is yours. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, stay curious.